Alrighty, y'all. It is 7 o'clock. So let's get started, shall we? My name is Lois, pronouns she, her, visual description, white woman, mid-length, dark brown hair, currently up in a ponytail, wearing a black tank top. And Ellen, my co-director here at Hollywood Fringe, is with me on this little web session. Y'all, today is going to be just like down and dirty. We're just going to go through all of the tech, and the guide proof and the ticketing and all of the things that you need to know digitally that we talked through at the town hall yesterday and that we've sent emails about, but now you're going to get a chance to kind of see it live in action and then ask any questions if I talk about anything you're not quite certain of or don't understand. As we get going, I'm going to throw it out there in case anyone has the capacity to come on camera, only because it can get a little bit awkward to talk into the ethers. So if anyone is willing to come on camera, oh, thank you. It just helps share that energy, so I'm not just talking to an empty screen here. So thank you, Betsy. Appreciate it. And anyone else, please. Hello. Thank y'all. It just helps, right? To share energy. Otherwise, I forget that I'm not in my room by myself, which is uncomfortable. Brilliant. Thank y'all. You're the best. So appreciate you. Okay, so we're gonna get going. Like I said, this is gonna be just a super casual tutorial. I will share my screen. We'll talk through just about everything that you could possibly need to know digitally at Hollywood Fringe. And then that'll take us until just about 8 o'clock. And from there, I'm gonna open up the session to questions. And I will be on until the bitter end to make sure any questions that you have get answered tonight, because you are the brilliant few who knew how important this session was going to be. And so you're going to be the ones really having ticketing figured out. Your guide proof is going to be stellar and ready to go. So I want to make sure that you feel really confident walking away from this web session. Okay, let's get going. I'm going to share my screen here. Bear with me for the quickest moment. Okay, so in theory, everyone should be able to see my screen that says Lois's Test Show. Thumbs up, is that what we see? Awesome. Okay, fantastic. Brilliant. All right, y'all. So what I did to try and make this as visually helpful for y'all is I created a project. As you can see, Lois's Test Show. Now it'll be up to you to see if it accidentally makes it into the guide and or t-shirt this year, because that has happened before. I have forgotten to delete my test project, and sure enough, Lois's Test Show ends up on the t-shirt. Fun fact about HFF24. Okay, so let's talk about the guide proof. That is going to be the first thing that I know is on everyone's minds and something we have to be doing in the next couple of weeks. So to get to your guide proof from your test page or from your real page, you have an admin tab. We're going to click on that. And from there, you have just a whole caboodle of tools that are at your disposal, because the idea at Fringe is we want you to have like full autonomy over your show and your show experience. So you can see the admin tab. Below that, you have several different options, one of which is your guide proof. We're going to click on that because that is going to be a space you spend a lot of time on between now and us sending out those like more like digital proofs for you to see as a whole. So right now, we're looking through the guide proof and checking for title. Is your title correct? Boom, title, right? I'm going to say yes, nailed it. That's a great title. You're going to check your company. That is right below here. Is your company correct? And we talked about it yesterday, but your company doesn't have to be a real company. It can be your name if it's a solo show and you want your name below that. There's no rules on what company can be as long as it's not somebody's company that you do not work for or run. That is the one rule when it comes to company. But if you were a new theater company that is looking to start branding yourself, what a great chance to create a name and start to put that branding out there for your work. The second thing is going to be runtime. My show is 1 hour, so that is correct. If that is incorrect, you have to email your venue. So that is something that is beyond your control. So note when you're looking at your guide proof, email your venue if your dates, your location, or your runtime are incorrect. That is going to be something your venue can help you with. Okay, the price. So my prices are pay what you can up to $15. So what does that mean? A lot of people will have one singular price, and that's going to be your general price, $15. My show has one performance that's pay what you can, and the rest of them are $15. And so the guide proof reflects that. It's going to give the range of your general, whether it's one price or multiple prices, it'll show the lowest and the highest in there. It also shows world premiere because that is a flag I checked, which after this we'll go through and show you how to check those flags that will pop up. Because if it's a world premiere performance, you want that checked. You want that badge of honor as you move through the festival, right? Content warning. That's another one that's important. If you have a content warning in your show, we'll want to make sure that that flag is checked. That warns your audience about a material that is in your show that they need to be aware of to make a decision that is right for them. You'll use the long description to go into detail about what that content warning is, but you're going to want to make sure that flag is checked. That way they can go on and go, you know what? Okay, good. I want to make sure to do more research and go back to that project page to make sure that they are fully prepared for whatever your show has to offer. Age. So that's going to be an important one. I put 13 plus because let's say my test show has some swearing, some like not all like hugely adult material, but still I would like a parent to know that maybe their 5-year-old would not see that as appropriate. So use age as what do you think is going to be appropriate into the general public. It's always safe to think, am I going to get an email if I put 5 and it's not for 5-year-olds? If you think you might get an email complaint or that I might get an email complaint about your show, adjust that age. Then it's going to have your short description. This is going to be 300 characters that best describes your show. Only 300 characters makes it to print, so make sure you really think about that. Additionally, make sure you are proofreading it. I cannot spell check 400 listings, so make sure you go over it 2, 3, 4 times. Send it to a friend, have them proof your ad, and then have, you can proof theirs as well. So make sure multiple people are looking at this to make sure it is ready for print. Below, it's going to have where your venue is located. That should match whatever the venue has in their venue page. So don't worry too much about that. If it's the correct venue, you're going to be in good shape. And then, of course, your dates, making sure these are correct. And again, if this is incorrect for any reason, talk to your venue and they can adjust that. There is still time to do that. Okay, let's talk about how we adjust anything that may be wrong. So we're going to go into our edit page. And then you can see everything is right here. So what are the things that we're checking for our guide proof? It's title, it's company, it's runtime, minimum age, short description, ticket price, category, and schedule. So category was the one thing that we didn't see show up on that guide proof, right? That's because that is the category it is put into. So it won't necessarily show up in your guide proof, but it will pop up in that particular category. So spend some time making sure you're happy with your category because that will be how it is marketed in the guide, how it's searchable on the site, and the category you end up in for awards. So spend some time and make sure you're really happy with that category for those 3 reasons. And then here's where you can edit. You can edit your title, again, category, of course. You can edit your company. You can edit your short description. And then, of course, you can edit your long description as well. But again, this is not going into print. This can be changed at any time and will always only live digitally. So something that's really important to spend time on before May 1st, but not before you make sure your short description is something you're really, really happy with. Then you can scroll down and put your external website. If you have a personal website, if you have a theater company website, this is where you're going to want to put that. It's not mandatory, but if you have an additional way for audience to look into your work, this is where you're going to put that. Remember, we live in a world where people like to, see a preview first. They want to see, they like to shop around. So giving anyone more reason to get a feel for your work is never a bad thing. This is where you can adjust your minimum age that we just talked about. Country of origin. This does come in handy, y'all, for international competition award. So if you are based in the United States, if this is where you live primarily and work primarily, it's United States. The choosing another place is more for that is where you live, and that's where you end up in the international category for awards. So that is primarily, again, for people who are traveling in to do the festival. Okay, here are the flags that we're talking about. Is your show free? click that box. If it's not free, please don't click that box. That'll just confuse your audience, and that's no good. Is your show pay what you can, or some performances pay what you can? Check that box. That way we can help you advertise that. Is your show family friendly? Same thing. Check that box so that we can help you advertise that. I will note family friendly is more intentioned for shows that are actually written and intended for families and children to come to, not necessarily it's probably fine. So think about your intentionality there. The family friendly should be actually, musicals that are intended for children or shows that really do, where you do want kids in the audience. Is your show a one-person show? Click that box. And then here's that world premiere, right? If your show is a world premiere, definitely click that box because these do end up in the guide. And now we get into accessibility. Let us know if your show is multilingual or if you have a Spanish language performance or multiple performances. Again, all of these are to help us market your show to the best of our abilities. And then content. This is where, so content warning, this is that box you want to click if you do have a content warning in your show. If you do have nudity in your show, yes, absolutely click that, but know that we do not market that. So that is one of those reverses. We do legally need to let an audience know if there's going to be nudity in a show, but it is not searchable. So that won't be in the guide. It's not necessarily a marketing flag. It is absolutely a content flag, just there as a precaution for anyone who is unsure. And then and this is fun. If you don't want reviews, I know we've talked about it at the town hall, you can decide like you're not interested in press reviews here, you're not interested in user reviews, or if you wanted to like delete your page and make it inactive, you can do that down here. These are kind of those worst case scenario buttons. So unless you want to do any of those, you can leave that alone. And then once you change anything in here, don't forget to click update project. That's key. Otherwise, none of it saves and it was all for naught. So make sure you do that. And from there, always double check, go back to your guide proof and make sure all of the changes that you just made it into this. This does act in real time. So whatever changes you made, as long as you clicked update project, that should pop in here, but do yourself the sanity check and make sure it all looks good. Because when it comes time for us to start putting all of the guide listings into print, we pull directly from the website. So you don't have to send us a proof. You don't have to send us the thumbs up or A-OK. We will pull directly what is in the website. And we'll give you a warning before we do that, just so you know. That's another reason to pay attention to those artist emails. We will let you know when those deadlines are coming up so that you can do that last minute check or last minute, oh, I made an edit and I want to make sure it's in the second proof. Check this page consistently. Okay, that is guide proofs. Let's talk about some other, or actually, why don't I take questions now? Are there any questions about guide proof specifically before we move on to more general project updates? Yeah, Betsy, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask your question. Oh,
sorry, I was trying to get the camera on the whole time, and then you were like, "You're on." Okay. Is content warning if you curse? Because if one of your characters says the F word, would that be a content warning you should check? Like cursing? Or like a dirty joke, or like, not a dirty, but like if you say like a blowjob or something, is that a content?
I don't think unless you're gearing it toward children, I think if it's age appropriate based on what you list your age requirement as
I
being,
did 18 or older.
and
Is
you're
that it? Okay, good. Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And these are things like you want to overthink it. That way you get to a place where you're like, I feel my audience knows everything they need to know, right? So a great way to think about content warnings, for anyone that's newer to content warnings, is things that could trigger an audience to have an emotional experience that they weren't ready for, or a harmful experience. Like if you're talking about sexual assault in a show, you want to make sure your audience knows to prepare for that, or to choose not to go if that's something that's not going to be comfortable for them. And so I would say where it's like, let's pretend you had a 13 plus, you might want to add content warning for dirty jokes or for, cursing, because like, ooh, you don't know where the parent is for a 13-year-old. So, but 18 plus, no need to worry about it there. Okay, see, Loop Studio, I see your hand next. Do you want to unmute and then we'll move over to Sahar?
Hi, it's Regina. Why would you want to hide the ticket price? What was that? What was that for?
Yeah, I wish I could tell you it is an option that is a potential. I don't know the reason that would be wanted. So I wish I had a good answer for you.
I would ask because you didn't say anything about it.
Yeah, I looked at that and went, that's a weird choice. An option for everything, whether it's right or not. All right, Sahar. Oh, unmute.
Oops. Sorry about that. So our question is, our show is family friendly, but it's not necessarily written for like children. Um, we were kind of in a gray area whether we should mark it family friendly or not. It seems that you suggest we shouldn't, but it would, I mean, kids will definitely like be able to follow along if they want to, or like families could definitely enjoy it. So I'm not quite sure if we should cook it or not.
Yeah, and I feel like, right, some of these are such a personal choice, and the gray area is tough.
Yeah.
I would, see, and I think it really depends on your show content, but I think, is it something that children could sit through versus would enjoy? I think that's a good line to follow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think they probably could sit through.
I
Yeah.
think they could. The only there's certain um there's only one bit where they discuss I where the characters in the play discuss ideas that might be outside of
Yeah.
their experience so far.
Yeah. It
Um,
might be like, yeah, too like the ideas themselves, it would depend kind of on the child. Like if they're like a well-read 9-year-old, then they'll probably be okay. But if they're kind of, it might be more like
yeah,
high school or,
but it would mainly be concerns about
yeah,
parents seeing it, because specifically what's mentioned is things like uh, historical events where really awful things happened.
yeah,
Um, and it's in context, and it's two characters discussing them casually, but it would just be. But
yeah.
by the way, my name's Edward, and I'm a co-producer with Sarah.
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't introduce myself, but yes, so it would be a question of whether
yeah,
parents would want their child to see something that
yeah,
maybe they're not ready to understand yet, but there's no actual
yeah,
content in the play that's inappropriate.
Yeah, I like, so at the end of the day, it really is up to you. I would say, like, my gut advice is, unless your show is intended for children, where you're like,
yeah,
if that's who you want to see in your audience, then definitely family friendly. But if it's not really catered to children and that's not who you want to see in the audience, or maybe have to deal with in the audience too, like, don't get me wrong, I love going to a show with my 5.5-year-old niece, but the show has to be ready for my 5.5-year-old niece, like, so
yeah.
think about that too. Will that change your situation as performers if you have children in the audience? Because family friendly does suggest that it is meant for families to have, a day at the theater, which tends to be more children content.
Mm,
Got it. Got it. Cool. Thank you so much.
thank
Yeah,
you.
of course. Okay. Ellen,
Lois, we have
that's
two from the chat. So both are from Accordion Ryan on YouTube. And one is, what would you recommend is a good price for the average show? And I've heard discount codes are a big thing, question mark. How much would you make them for? Question mark.
That's a great question, and we have data for this. So for just so everyone who knows, we give our suggestions based on the previous year's data, right? Because we just take what artists did last year and tell you what the norm is based on that. Last year, our average ticket price on sale was $15. Our average ticket price sold was 12 and some change. Am I getting that right, Ellen?
I don't have it on the top of my head, but I just dropped the link where they can find it themselves.
Report, hollywoodfringe.org/annual report. But I think the important part here, right, is like what to put that ticket price on sale for. And last year, the on sale price was $15, because then, yes, discount codes are huge. That is a great marketing tactic. Make people feel special. You can create a discount code for every friend group, every work circle, any discount code you want. And you can also use that to track how well your marketing is working and who's actually coming to your show. So absolutely, price a little bit higher than you plan to offer with discount codes. And that's a really great marketing opportunity for you. Okay, was there another question in the chat, Ellen?
There's one more. What if you're from the US but mostly live elsewhere? Do I put USA or somewhere else?
It's a great question. I feel, and that's where it does get great, right? And here's the thing: is we're not going to be auditing this list. Use your best judgment is our recommendation here. Like, would you feel comfortable getting an award with international shows that have traveled here from all over the country or all over the world? Like, think about that. If you were to win the award in the international category, would you be like, "Ooh, I feel like I maybe broke some rules there"? Or if not, if you feel like, no, that's where I fit, then absolutely you should put the other location that you also spend time in. That'd be my recommendation. Use your gut there. Okay, perfect. Thanks, y'all. Let's move into additional project page edits and how to make this really fancied up for ticket on sale, because that's what you want, right? This is kind of your page to show off your show, to make sure your show stands out amongst the 400 some shows that are participating in the festival. So we're going to go to this details tab first. Okay. So what do I need here? I definitely need some images, right? Because we live in a visual world where people do want an idea of what to expect visually. So you can see below this placeholder image, you see plus pictures, plus videos. This is where you can add pictures and videos. So please do, Netflix does previews for a reason. It's how you entice people into your show. And you can add as many as you want. We have yet to see anyone hit a wall with the amount of media they add to their page. So go crazy. As long as it's appropriate for the internet, that is something to keep in mind, certainly, because there is a terms of use of our website that says you will not, put nude photos up. You will not put photos up that are, inciting harm or hate. But beyond that, use this page to make sure you are showing off your project. You can also modify your tags. So if you click that modify tags, you can start to add some buzzwords. This is how people can search for your show, but this is also how people can get an idea of what to expect from your show. So definitely have some fun with the tags. Additionally, you can add your Instagram or your email. Make sure people can get a hold of you if they want to. People have absolutely reached out to shows they've seen for casting opportunities, or just to tell them how much it meant to them. Their work, really was impactful and they want to reach out. So if you are comfortable with that sort of a relationship with your audience, please add your social medias and your emails and things like that at the top. Additionally, this is where, of course, your website lives. And then your team. This is huge, y'all. We want you to add your team because they're a part of your project. And you want to make sure, just like an IMDb, you want to make sure they get credit for the show. And you also want to make sure they get the full festival experience, like being able to get the participant price when they are going to see shows. You want to make sure they have access to the parties and all of the other fun things that the festival has to offer. And step one will be adding them to your project page. So make sure you are doing that. Fun fact as well, you'll see Fringe Veteran. This one gets confusing all the time. Unless you see a star next to the name, they're not a veteran. So I always get the question of like, I've never done Fringe before. Why do I have this asterisk? It's just the code. So it gets confusing when the code is right below and there's no stars, but we're doing that. And then remember, you can update images in your own user account, right? So you can't necessarily upload images for your cast and crew, but they can once they sign up. And they can sign up once you send them an invite. The website will prompt them to create a user account. That way they can add their bio, they can add their pronouns, they can add photos and videos, because again, like casting directors will use this occasionally and people will book work. So having, a more filled out profile page can only help you. Okay, I think that is the basics for like the project page itself. Let's go into some performance edits and how we can play with individual performances, shall we? So we're going to go back to this admin tab. This is going to be where you live. If you're the primary producer for your project, get to know this admin tab. It is going to be something you check every single day now until the end of June, because there is so many tools available to you. So if you go to performances, this is where you can start to mess with pricing. So we talked about like on the guide proof, right? Ticket price is going to be in there. You have to change it on your performances. What gets automatically added when your venue adds your performances is whatever you put in that original application that you filled out when registering. So some people haven't looked at that since they filled it out in December. So here is where you want to edit it. You go to each individual performance and click edit. And then huzzah, you see so much information. You'll scroll down. This is where you can change your online cutoff time. I'm going to change mine to 0 because I'm going to have my box office person be able to check the internet as opposed to, printing out. If you're someone who wants to print out the will call, You're going to want an online shut-off time that's a little bit further out, so you have time to print a up-to-date, will call. Okay, price. This is where we can get crazy. Okay, your regular price. This is what shows up in the guide. So this is the general price for any audience member who's popping on the website looking to buy tickets. The participant price. The only people who will see this price are primary producers or team members of current HFF25 registered shows. So again, another reason to enter your teams in is they get access to the participant price. It is not required that you give a lower participant price. It can be the exact same cost as your general or as your regular price. But if you do want to give participants an extra discount, this is where you do it. Make it 10. Great. Okay. Number of seats. You cannot change this, or sorry, I take that back. You can change it, but you cannot make it higher than the space capacity. So maybe you have tickets on sale elsewhere, or maybe, you know what, you're going to be inviting a lot of industry and press, and you want to make sure you have tickets available day of, because notably press and industry do not plan ahead. Sometimes you find out the night before that a member of the press is coming. So I'm going to play it safe, and I'm going to say I have 700, or nope, I have 690 tickets, and I'm not going to sell anything beyond that. And then in the moment, I could change that up, right? The day before, you know what? I only have 3 press coming. I'm going to put those back on sale. So you can play with that. You just can't go above the max capacity. And then here's flags. And again, all of what we're doing, you're going to want to do on each and every one of your performances. So this is accessibility. And we do this by performance because maybe you have an ASL interpreter for one performance, but it's expensive and you can't afford to do it for all 5. You're able to advertise these services per performance. That way you can have it available, but not for the entire run. So you have ASL interpreted performance, audio descriptions available, captioning available. Are there flashing lights? You want to put that in there because that can be dangerous for someone, right? Maybe you're offering a tactile preview tour. That's a great thing. If you have an hour before your show, maybe you've booked in extra time with your venue, you can allow someone to come into the space first. Maybe you have a set and have them experience it in a way that is going to be fuller for them. Is it a primarily sound performance? That's great if you don't have a lot of speaking in your show. Maybe it is a dance piece. It would be opposite. If it's not a very visual show, that would be a primarily sound performance. But the opposite, if it's a dance piece and there's really not a lot of script involved, it's a visual show. So it's not even something you had to plan for. It is now fully accessible to a whole range of people just by making sure they know it's primarily visual. Are you able to offer priority seating for early access? Maybe someone, it will be more comfortable if they use a cane, knowing they can come early and sit down before the full crowd of people comes in all at once. So if you're able to offer that, check with your venue and then click that. Do you require proof of vaccination? That is something that certainly happens less, but you're still well within your rights to require that at your show. You just need to make sure you click it so your audience knows as much. And here we have sensory advisory. Are there a lot of flashing lights? Are there a lot of loud noises? You're going to want to make sure they know there's a sensory advisory on that show. Or is it a really calm show? Is there no flashing lights? Is there very mild sound, easygoing? That's going to be a sensory friendly show. And then of course, letting people know if there is smoke and haze in your performance. So once you feel good about that, you're just going to click update performance. And then remember, if you want to go back to it and do that on the other ones, you have to go to each individual performance. And then a great way to make sure it worked is to go back to that guide proof and make sure that everything looks correct. Yeah? Okay. Any questions about the general project page before we jump into ads and ticketing? Great. Okay, we're gonna go. Oh yeah, Betsy.
Do you think, I just want your real opinion. I know you talked about this yesterday in the meeting. Do you think it's a good idea to do pay what you can and put 15 and then participants make it 10 with comp codes? Do you think it's a good idea to do pay what you can? Because it's my first fringe and I want to sell tickets.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I think we're about to go into ticketing. I think there's loads of ways to do it. I think you can always make a discount code for pay what you can. If you want to see how that goes, as opposed to like cutting yourself off right at the beginning with the assumption that no one's going to pay for tickets because people
Okay.
like maybe there's the world where you create a discount code so that way you can make it personal. You know, as you get to know the community, as you get to know your fellow participants, hey, I really enjoyed getting to know you. I would love for you to see my show. Here's a discount code that lets you pay what you can, whatever you can afford, come on through.
Okay.
And Ellen has a, yep.
Yeah, we have two questions. One of them is what's will call?
That's a great question. And we will get to it so soon, I promise.
And then the second one is also jumping the gun just a little bit, but I think that a lot of people have this question, so it might be a good lead in, which is question random. I need to buy my print ad tonight, but I don't have my dates yet from my theater, and it's stressing me out. How can I get these dates expedited? And I checked in with them with their venue, and it's one of the couple that we're in conversation with, and so that's a relief, you know. And I wanted to know if you had any updates on that deadline for it.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely talk. And then we'll jump right into ticketing and then just know we'll talk about like actual like ad like guide ads and ad proofs and how ads are going to look right at the end. That's a great question. And just so everyone knows, yeah, we have so many venues that are working tirelessly to try to get in all of their performances. But big sigh of relief, like tomorrow was the registration deadline. And that's important. That way I know you exist. More than anything, knowing that you've registered is huge because then I can take care of it. I can make sure that I know that you exist, that you plan on doing Fringe, and then I can do audits. I work with the venues. I think today alone, we've sent 9 emails back and forth, me and the venue group. So we are working together to make sure that if you were in conversation with a venue, you're going to be okay. The only reason you wouldn't be okay is if you registered and just thought, you know what, I'm going to book a venue in May. Okay, you won't make it into the printed guide, but if you were actively talking to a venue, I promise it'll be okay. And even with the printed guide ad, because I know that you want your dates on your ad, that's important. Get your ad, and then again, you're on my radar, right? If you buy your ad, you can upload it later. But if you've done that step of buying the ad, again, I know you exist. I know to check in with you, and then we're able to have that back and forth and the check and balance to make sure that you get in the guide. Because the Hollywood Fringe team, we want nothing more than for every show that is even thinking about doing Fringe in this moment to make it into the printed guide. There's nothing that hurts my heart more than like shows that don't make it to print. So know that over the next 2 weeks, we are going to be working so hard to make sure every show gets in, and same with the venues. They are actively working to expedite that, and over the next 2 weeks, get everyone in. So I promise, as long as you're registered, I know you exist, you're going to be all right.
What's the deadline for printed ads, Lois?
April 20th. And like I said, we'll go through the printed ads next. And then again, worst case, if you're still working on getting your dates in, buy that ad. We'll be in conversation. The best thing any of us can do right now is just communicate. And then we can make a lot more happen. All right, perfect. So let's do ticketing and then printed ads next, I promise. But let's jump into ticketing because we're already on this page and there's so many fun things to talk about. Okay, so ticketing, we've done the general, we've done the participant. Those are going to be the prices that live on your page and that are available, the general to print and the participant to view, right? It depends on if they're logged in as a registered participant, they see that price, etc. So let's talk about all of the extras, the extra bells and whistles that you can play with, starting with discount codes. And this is where it gets fun. You create your code here. Boom, we're gonna call it VIP. And then you set what that ticket price is. I'm gonna say that's $5. Or again, like we were talking about, Betsy, you can make that pay what you can. And then there's going to be your suggested, right? But that is how you can make sure people know, like, hey, I really care about you. I really want you to see my show. And if it means that you pay $1, so be it. I want you to come. So this is where you'd set that up. And then another important thing is, which performances do they apply to? This is the question I get the most in early May. It's, oh my God, my discount code isn't working. Why isn't my discount code working? It's because somebody is trying to use the discount code for a performance you haven't enabled. So you can do it for certain days, or you can select all. It is up to you. You can choose your own adventure, decide how to play this marketing game, as long as you know where they exist and are communicating that to the people that you're giving the codes to. right? So on paper, if you know that you tend to like get a little lost in the detail, maybe make your discount codes for all the performances. That's going to be the easiest way to keep track and know that a discount code you send someone is going to work. But if you really want to like play it, per performance and set certain marketing goals and see if they work, then you want to get a little, a little more detailed and add different ones for performances. But you can do all of that right here. So we're going to add a discount code. And boom, now I have a discount code. And then if you want to add another one, you just keep going through that process. Or if you want to edit it, you can go back in and make edits as you wish. Or if you want to delete it, you can also do that. But know that you're going to have to explain it to the audience if they come back, hey, why doesn't my discount code work? So know that going in. Okay, so you have discount codes and they'll always show up here so you can keep track of what you've created because that's always a fun game. If you've created 20, you want to kind of see how many are sold, keep track of what's going on with those discount codes. If you are planning to use our volunteer and commissioners club discount, this is where you're going to want to play in as well. And that's something that's a great way to kind of paper the house. If you're like, I want people to come to the show who will talk about the show and who will still buy a ticket, but maybe at like a 25% discount. That's going to be a program that'll be really helpful to you because our commissioners club members are like fringe fans. They go see 50, 60 shows every year. And our volunteers are the same way. They come into fringe hard. So if you are looking to do that, check out the participant packet where there's a link to set that all up. Okay, additionally, and this is less common, so I want to name that as we look at this, way less common. So don't get lost in ticket levels, but this is an option. This tends to work best or make the most sense if you have like a VIP experience. This is for, maybe you're doing a show and you get to come an hour early if you are a VIP and get a special drink or a special tour of the set, like some sort of a VIP experience. This is where you'd want to play with ticket levels. Or if you're trying to get people who maybe can afford to spend money on theater and help pay it forward, you could add that here. Right? Maybe that's the arts champ. And then let people know that this is for people who are really supporting the arts and they can maybe afford a $50 ticket. And then you decide how many of your tickets are available under that level. So that would make sense for like VIP, maybe it's front row. Maybe front row is a special price, right? And you have 9 seats in the front row. That's where you'd play with the amount of tickets on sale. And then to the description, what does that extra thing mean? So this is where I'd say, hey, this is for arts lovers who can afford to pay it forward. Any extra money I make from this ticket will be given as comps to, certain communities, or you can play with like the good nature of people as well here. And I will say it does tend to work if people can afford to buy a double price ticket, if it means that it's going to, like maybe high school children or people who can afford to see theater. That's a great way to kind of build community within your own audience. And then you can also choose to exclude it from discount codes, or you can choose to make this option like pay what you can. And again, same rules apply as the discount codes. Select all the performances or some of the performances, just keep track of when and add your level. So boom. And now you can keep track of how many are sold and how those are going. Okay, those are the big things with tickets. Do we have any questions about that? And then next I'll go into will call and what it looks like once tickets start to sell.
We have one in the chat, which
Yes.
is how common is it to price preview shows at a lower price point than other shows?
It's pretty common. It is pretty common to, and specifically to participants, I would argue is maybe the most common. And Ellen, please jump in if you have a different opinion here. But I think getting people who are going to talk about your show in for that first preview performance is huge. So having a lower participant price is definitely more helpful earlier on in the run while you're building that word of mouth, right? Because it takes a minute. Like that first show is going to be harder to sell than the third when already that buzz is starting to build and people are talking about how great it was.
I say, why not, unless you have a strong marketing plan for that first show that doesn't include fringers.
Yeah.
I have another question here about ticketing, which is from Brian McKinley. If I'm involved with more than one show, is it possible to create a discount code for bundling 2 shows together? Example, buy a ticket for both of the partnered shows in cart and get a discount.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is not a way to do that, but there is a way to share a discount code that works for both productions. So there's no way to combine two shows, but again, there is a way to share a discount code. Like, hey, maybe everyone who's purchased your preview gets an email that says, hey, thanks for attending my show. Because you attended my show, here's a discount code for X show. I know you'll really like it because it's similar. So you could do that kind of exchange, or it can be co-marketing, like cross-pollinating your marketing and then saying this discount code works for both of our shows. Please use it. And essentially you can make the same deal where it's like 50% off both. You know what I mean?
And then we missed a question earlier. I'm so sorry, Rob. But the question was about the detail page.
Yeah.
When clicking the plus button to add social media, I don't see Instagram on the list.
Oh. I'll get back to you about that, Rob. It definitely was on there. I'll speak with our web designer to see if we can't get that back.
Sure, thanks. I saw Instapaper, but that was about it.
Yeah. No, we'll give that a look.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, we'll give that a look. I know. Because I need to know, maybe sometimes the switching of companies, like the coding is built and then they switch ownership, all of that. So we'll look into that for you for sure. Because Instagram's a little bit popular. I get it. Okay. Any other questions about ticketing? And we're going to stay in the ticketing realm. We're just going to start to talk about what ticketing looks like in May. Great. Okay. So here's a fun. Okay, we're going to go to admin again. This tab, y'all, spend some time playing here. Okay, we're going to go to performances. So this is where I got a little bit weird to try and show this. So bear with me if this is confusing. So this first performance, if I click view, this is what I see, right? And this is what it will look like up until tickets go on sale. So hold that in your head for a second, right? This first performance, I have tickets not on sale. They go on sale on May 1st, just like the rest of the festival. So this is what you will see. You can see all of the information. You can click edit and you can go back in and fix all of that information. That's until May 1st, right? And then we're going to go to my last performance where I forced on sale in admin. So this was a behind the scenes thing so that you can see what it will look like on May 1st. Ah, more options. I know, I see the eyes get bigger. So on May 1st, once tickets are on sale, you will be able to do a lot more with these pages, right? Until tickets are on sale, all you can do is edit the page, which I'm going to name is kind of all that needs to happen prior to May 1st, because otherwise there's just too many options. But come May 1st, you're ideally really happy with all of your information on your performance because it's already in print. So let's hope so, right? But now, in addition, you can of course still edit. Like, can you change all of this information? Yeah, we don't recommend it once the guide is in print, but you can. And this is where you can look at comped tickets and give comp tickets. So this is where you're going to want to play if you want to, like you've already had a chat with somebody at office hours and be like, you know what, I would love to send you a comp. Are you free on June 17th? They're going to be like, for sure. And I was like, cool, I got you. What's your email? I'll send that tonight. This is where you send comps. This is also where if you're using a third-party ticketing service, you can add all of the tickets you've sold on brown paper tickets or, any other third-party ticket sales. Or if you've already promised mom, dad, sister, and friend an opening night seat, adding them on May 1st to make sure it doesn't sell out here will help you keep track. So for here, you can add their information in. I'm gonna invite Ellen. And then you can decide how many tickets. Ellen gets 2. Ellen gets to invite her partner to the show. We love that. And then you can add a note. Can't wait. Well, I'm going to spell things right. To see you. And here, you can either leave it blank if it's for a friend or a family member or another participant. Or if it's for press and you want to remember that you have press on your list, you can select press or industry. So this is a lot of it. Maybe someone reached out away from the site. They emailed you personally and are like, hey, I'm from Broadway World. I want to come to your show and review it. You send them a comp here and then you select press. That way you and your box knows that they are pressed when they get there, right? It never hurts to keep track and know who's coming because maybe you want to leave a water bottle by their chair. Maybe you want to make sure that you send them a follow-up email afterward with a press kit. All of these things. So it helps you keep track of who's in your audience. And from there, I'm going to add comps. And now I can see when I go to that comps tab that I have 2 comps ready for Ellen. I can also delete them if I sell out and say, you know what, sorry, Ellen, you're my bestie. I need those 2 tickets because I have 2 members of industry who want to see it for an award possibility. I need you to hang tight. I'll get you into another show. Sorry, Ellen. I am sure, so you have full control over your comps in that way.
Does Ellen get notified as soon as you put in the email address and hit or is it just?
If you're manually deleting it, that's a great question. You need to let them know. It will disappear from their list, but they won't necessarily get like a, hey, just so you know, you no longer have a ticket, because that'd also be kind of rude, right? We want to
And
make
what about when you comp them initially, when you send it, do they get notified when they get the comp? Okay.
Yes, they do get an email, and that's where that note comes in. So they do get that email. Ellen, you want to add? Oh, I just saw your face come up.
Oh, I have another question when you have a chance.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, let's give me 5 minutes and then yes. Okay, so that is comps. And then we're going to go back to, again, view. Let's remember is where you're seeing this, right? And a reminder, it's not going to be visible until May 1st. This is all just secret insight. So here you'll also have your will call list, which I know came up earlier. So you can click your will call. And I bought a ticket to my own test show so you can see what it looks like. I had a weird day of just being 9 different people, y'all. This was a very weird day for me. So here you can decide what your view is. You can show prices if you want to. You can show industry or press, again, because maybe when you print this out, you want your box office to know that you have somebody who's industry or somebody who's press. But you can also get rid of all of this. You can make it a really clean, here are the names and here are the amount of seats they have, and then boom, you're done. And this updates is live updates. So every moment you're going to see what is happening in real time on the website. And then, oh wait, I need to be able to see. Okay. Oh, I'm glad I moved the Zoom for a second because my battery is about to die. Okay, 1 second, pause. Computer battery is going down.
While Lois plugs in, I'm just going to live answer that question about comps.
Ah.
And it's totally about personal preference to have it added in that way versus giving somebody a comp code. You just want to remember that people don't always actually use the comp codes you give them. And notoriously, the people that you want most are also probably very busy and being asked by hundreds of producers to see their show. So sometimes it can be that little like act that you can do to say like, no, I'm really committed to having you see my show. I'm going to go through this effort for you. So it just depends on how you want to do things. And some people are like, you know what, I have my boundaries up. If you want to see me, you're going to come see me. And that's okay too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, and with comp tickets too, it can be more of a personal notation as well. Like you can choose, I think so at least. Yeah, email is optional. So you do not see optional to alert patron. You can just use it as a personal notation so you know who's coming to that performance. Like maybe, yeah, you've already worked it out and maybe grandma is not gonna check her email anyway. So you can just make sure that grandma's name is here so that way your box office person is ready to check them in. That is totally fine. It's also totally fine. Say you're using Today Ticks and you have a separate list for the other 50% of your tickets. Print out 2 lists. You don't have to enter everything into this site. Like there's no rules here outside of making things as easy for you and giving you as many options because every producer is going to operate differently. We want you to be able to operate whatever is going to work best for you. So these are all of the options and then take what works and leave what doesn't.
Do the comp codes count against your capacity?
Not comp codes. Comp add-in comps, yes,
Yeah.
it will take a seat away from your capacity, whereas a
Okay.
comp code will not. That is a great question.
Unless they reserve with that comp code.
Unless they reserve, yeah, but it's until it's reserved, it is still an open seat. Whereas once you add a comp, gone.
And the question is, this is only visible for you, right? Will call, I mean. Who can see the will call?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So let's go over to our details tab. And let's look at my team, right? So we're going to click edit. So right now, again, I've been multiple people today, friends. It has been a very weird day. So we have, oops, no, I don't want to move you. I want to leave you there. So Lois Neville, no picture, is the primary. So I created an account that wasn't like my Hollywood Fringe account so that you could only see what you have access to see. So everything you're seeing is totally visible for the primary producer. If we want to go into the admin, you know what? Let's do it. Let's get weird. Are you ready, friends? Oh, wait, I can't. Oh, yeah. No, I can't assume user from this email. Just kidding. Okay, I can't make it weird. But the admin has control over everything we're looking at except for payout and anything that is like, I'm going to take money or leave money. But as far as creating comps, as far as editing performances, editing the page, by giving someone admin privileges, they have pretty full control over your site outside of requesting a check or taking down your page. We can't, like, if they email us, we're like, you're not the admin, we can't send you a check, we can't handle the money in that way. But if you are an admin, you have pretty full access. So some venues, if they run their box, I know there's several venues that run box offices for the show. They will request admin privileges so they can see your will call in real time. That way they don't have to like bug you when you're about to go on stage and say, hey, so-and-so is saying they have a ticket, but I don't see them on the will call you printed 3 hours ago. Is that, is there an updated version? So some venues will ask for admin privileges, and I will say, like, they're trustworthy. It's behoove of you to give it if they're asking for it, if they're running your box office. But all they can do is, like, they can do everything that you can do, but all they're doing is checking your will call. Also, if you wanted to,
Question, can I ask you a question about that?
yeah, of course.
Sorry, Maggie here. So you have the box office in some venues, you got to run your own box office, right? So if you have a volunteer or a friend who is running your box office for you, then that person is going to need to have admin privileges as well.
They will, unless you want to cut off sales earlier and print out the information. A lot of shows will do that. They'll say the cutoff time, which you can do in, remember, let's see, admin, performance, and then you can change it per performance too, right? So I'm going to go into edit and I'm going to change that cutoff time to 2 hours. That way I know as the primary producer, I have time to print that list, get my ass to the venue and hand it to the volunteer who's going to be handling that. But if it's a volunteer that knows you well, that you trust to like have access to changing your ticket prices, by all means, like, yeah, like giving them the admin access is not a bad idea.
Okay, and tangential question to that. So let's say you have a volunteer running the box office, and you've sold 40 tickets of your 50 seat house, and your ticket sales are cut off 2 hours beforehand, right? How do you recommend doing sales in that 2 hours with that volunteer? Do you like do Venmo? Do you do cash?
Often Venmo has become hugely popular. Do a QR code to your personal Venmo, have a sign that they're able to point to, and then they're able to just say, hey, here's the Venmo code. Show me the screen when you've paid. Like it can be as simple as that, or it can be cash, or you can go further and have a Square account where you're able to take credit cards. I will say like Venmo or PayPal is definitely becoming the most common. And in fact, sometimes some shows that only accept cash can be very difficult. I know I've personally, and this was years ago where I should have been more prepared, I didn't have cash on my person. And so sometimes having cash is actually going to bite you in the ass faster than a QR code for Venmo.
Okay, yeah, cool.
And then I think it's important to also have the conversation with your box office person where like, okay, here's how I want things operated, but maybe you really just want people. So you can, give them that permission of like, and then, if it's 2 minutes before and we haven't sold the tickets, if they don't have cash, let them come through, or, like you kind of set those rules. But I think it's important to have that conversation. That way your box office person has that autonomy to go, okay, I know what my producer wants, and I'm able to make those calls in the moment.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, we're going to go back over to our will call, our May 1st will call, or our May 1st performance. That's what we're going to call it. May 1st ticket on sale, and go back to view. And then here's one more thing I want to show you. And again, on May 1st, you'll be able to play with this. But message patrons, y'all, this is one of my favorite tools on the website. It's what I use. You all should have gotten an email before this event letting you know, hey, don't forget, we have an event. Here's the link. Can't wait to see you. This is something that's going to be really helpful. You can do it before your performance. You can do it after your performance. You can do it in 6 months from now when you have a new show that you want, your audience to know about. Hey, we've revamped. It's now an hour and a half, and I'd love to have you come. Here's a discount code to see my, updated performance. So click message patrons. And again, just me, but you can select certain people too. So you can decide, maybe you just want to email the press on the list or what have you. And you have the full ability to send them an email. It comes directly to their inbox from a Hollywood Fringe stamped page. So it's a little more professional. And it's a great way to, hey, reminder, there's traffic today, and I want to make sure you make it into my show. There's no late seating, so please plan ahead. Or, hey, I'm going to be at the plunge afterward. Please stay after the show. I'd love to meet you and talk about the show. So, or, hey, leave a review. The Fringe does do automatic emails after every show starts, reminding everyone in attendance to leave a review that links directly to your page. But a personal touch is always better than Fringe saying, hey, go leave a review for this awesome show. If you say, hey, it meant so much that you came to my show, what would really help me move to the next level is having reviews. If you could take 5 minutes, I would really appreciate it. And, I'll be able to get a lot from it. So using the personal touches is really important. And then other fun fact, after the show or after your show is wrapped, after the Fringe, you keep access to your patrons. We ask every patron as they buy a ticket if they're willing to share their information with the artists within the show. And most of them say yes. It's very few that will say, no, thank you. I'd like to remain anonymous. And if they remain anonymous, you will still be able to email them. You just won't have access to their email directly. Whereas here, if they say yes, which most audiences do, you can pull a CSV form and hold on to that audience forever. That is the new start to your email list or, your marketing scheme. So you will have, like when I download that, you'll see my first name, my last name, my email, and then you have that forever. So that's fun. Okay, with your prize feed, you can see your tickets come in real time. So you can definitely keep an eye on this and see, day of, as you're getting nervous, as you're anxious watching these tickets come through, you can see what's happening with your feed or reports. This is where you can see in real time as well how your show is doing. And you can look at sales over time, revenue over time, tickets by type. Like you can really kind of start to pull data from your show, which will help you as a producer for next time. It'll start, allow you to make really educated plans with your marketing, and also keep an eye on your net ticket revenue for your budget, right? I know that's a scary number, but it can be very, very helpful. Maybe you're 20% ahead and you're like, well, hot damn, I can actually buy some, Instagram ads because I am ahead of budget. So like keep an eye on this as a producer, and it can be really helpful. Okay, the last thing I want to go over before I get into ads, and then we'll do questions, I promise, is what a press request will look like. So come next month, we're going to be starting to add press to the website. That means we have a developed relationship with press. Sometimes it is one we've been working with them for years. Sometimes it's just we've done a little bit of auditing to make sure they are legitimate. They go see shows when they say they will. They write a review when they say they will. And so we develop this press list that then is given access to request comps. We do the same with industry that is actively looking to book work or give an award through our Discover Fringe industry program, or is in some way proven that them asking for comps at shows is beneficial to the artists overall. These people end up on our press list and our industry list, and then they are given the ability to request comps to the shows that they are interested in. In that same vein, you have the option to deny them or to accept those requests. It is entirely up to you because, again, you have the full autonomy over your production because that is your money. So know that you can approve, deny, but I'm going to show you what those look like because those will start to come in like mid-May. It's still early now, but I want you to kind of have a visual for when that time is. So I'm going to pop over to my email. Can everyone see my email? Yes, good. Okay. So this is my email. I have, as Lois Neville, created a press pass. I've requested a press comp, and now I am Lois Neville, primary producer. Again, confusing. I should have made fake names. That would have been less complicated. But here we are. So I'm the primary producer of my test show, and this is the email I got. Good news, press is interested in your show. This is the date they're interested in. They want a comp. Okay, you know what? I want to give them a comp. Let's see what Broadway Planet has to offer me, right? So I'm going to click here. And then everyone sees the add comps come up. Yeah, okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, so it pops up automatically, right? We try to make it easy. So if someone requests a comp, all you got to do is click the link and it'll take you right to the page to either confirm or deny it. But you know what? I'm going to do it. And actually, I want to give them a +1 because I want them happy when they leave, whatever. And then you can choose whatever level, like if you, this is where the VIP experience comes into play, right? I'm not going to necessarily change their level to Arch Champ. That doesn't make any sense. But if you have a VIP experience and you want to make sure they have access to that, boom, add that price level in. And then notes, this is going directly to the press. So remember, this is not a personal note for how you want to remember to do something. It's like, hi, so-and-so, so thrilled to have you coming. Let me know if you want a press kit. Let me know if you'd like to meet after the show, you know, whatever it is. And then this is where you mark if it is it for press or is it for industry? And then you add comps. And now I've processed those comps. The press has gotten an email that says,
Yes, Auntie.
you are booked. We can't, you know, we can't wait to see you at this performance. And then you are good to go. And actually, while we're in here, I'm going to remember to say press. This is where you add your press release. This is an important thing, right? So from your details tab, you have the press release. Click here to add your press release. And that way press can see it. You don't even have to send it if you don't want to. A lot of the press that has been registered with the festival before knows to look for these things. They're looking at your page to grab a press release when they're writing an article because you want to make it easy for them, right? Especially like if there's certain points about your show that you want press to talk about, make sure it's talked about in your press release. If there are certain characters that you want to make sure are represented properly, talk about it in your press release. Just make sure you're giving them, you're kind of hand holding them. That way, when they go to write the review, this is a cheat sheet. Or on the other end, this is also maybe what entices
Guys, how outrageous
come
is
see
this?
your
I
show.
don't know what is going on, but
So it can be used either
hold
way.
on, Lucia. Hold on, sweetie.
Pretty much made it.
Huh?
1 second, I'm just gonna do a quick mute. Okay. But yeah, so this is how press will sometimes find a show they want to see. And this will be also how press refers back so they can get the information right. Because sometimes they're seeing 50 shows in 3 weeks. That's a lot to keep track. So the press release can work for both reasons. But primarily it is, of course, to entice press to come to your show. Give them, like, what are those headers you want maybe on the article, like, subject line? What are the reasons they should come? Oh my gosh, you're a food blogger, make sure you, this is, you know, all about food, this is gonna be a great way to entice, whatever. Like I've lost the ability to be creative, but get creative in your press release. Ellen, please add something here.
Can I ask a question, a follow-up question?
Yeah.
So when I write a press release, should I like format it in a way that it's like a press release or just like some notes for them?
You should
You know what I
format
mean?
a press release. I'm just saying of things you want to think about when you're
Mm.
adding it in.
Mhm.
Yeah, really.
Okay, so it should be a legit press release,
It should be a
but
legit
by me.
press release. Yeah, I think just
Okay.
sometimes press releases can be so general that it's not helpful.
Okay. Mhm.
So
Thank you.
detail is good, but definitely format it. And if you go to hollywoodfringe.org/participants, you'll find examples of press releases and what should be in there. So I highly recommend doing that homework to help you write your press release. And so once you're doing that, you just go add press release and boom, it's in there.
Hi, Lois. And I have another question here that's
Yeah.
2 questions actually that are kind of similar and still in the press vein. The first one is for that comp time when you're doing your comps. If they reply to your messages, do you get an email back? I think that's what it's referring to.
Yeah.
Great. And then the second one is there a press industry list?
There is without emails, but if you go to, again, our participant packet, hollywoodfringe.org/participants, what we do is, because it's not really, people don't share like full emails and press releases or press information, but there's about like 30 publications that you should Google. Because most lists are kind of like voided after a year anyway. People are consistently moving around. So if you go to our participant packet, check out all of those recommended publications and then start to build your press release. Google these publications, see who's on the list. Also see who you maybe know or have people in common with. Like this is when you do some polite stalking. You know what I mean? Like we do it on our own team of like, who do we know at this publication? Oh, they have mutual friends with, Roddy, even though Roddy doesn't work in press. Let's get Roddy to make an intro. So start to do some polite stalking or well-informed research and build your press list because this will be helpful for years to come. Like now is the time to start to pull this toolkit into place. Okay, was there any more? I think I got all of the major like tickets, press, things that need to get added to the site. So before I jump to ads, are there any questions about anything and everything we've gone over so far? Other than ads, because we'll go over that next.
I have another quick question. So if your ticket cutoff was like 2 hours before or something like that, what does it say on the site? Does it say go to the door if you want tickets? Or if you still have tickets available, right? And you want to sell some at the door, what does it say on the site, do you know?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. I don't believe it says sold out or anything like that. It just says tickets unavailable at this time. I might be crazy. Ellen, do you remember what it says?
So sorry, I was responding to somebody. What's the question?
When the shut off time has come, like okay, tickets are shut off, it's 2 hours before the show. What is the message that you see publicly?
I think it says ticket sales have closed. I don't remember. I think there's a second sentence, but I can't
I know,
remember
right?
what the second sentence is. I can run a test in a second and see how it
We
works.
can absolutely run a test right now. Are you ready, guys? Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. This is a great question, y'all. And sometimes I'm gonna name Ellen and I are human. We know a lot about Fringe, but there is inevitably going to be something that we're like, what? I don't remember. Okay, I'm gonna check our project from today because ticket sales have closed for this. Nope, that's a no-go. Okay, TBD. But feel free or you know what I'm gonna do? Email support with that question, and we'll get you an answer, or we're gonna add it as a fun fact in our upcoming artist newsletter. That's a promise. We'll have a like, hey, for everyone who tuned into the web sessions, here's that, hidden Easter egg for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, we don't have the answer for you. For the life of me, I can't remember.
I love when people ask us questions we don't have the answer to. It's fun. Now we get to investigate and figure out how to put it out there.
Yeah.
A couple of questions here, Lois. The first one is from Diana. Deanna. Ellen, I may have missed this or not. LOL. Can we set up a discount code just for a certain amount of tickets per performance?
No, it has to, there's no way to do a discount code for a certain amount of performances. You could create a price level, but those are public. Ooh, actually, that brings me to a point that's worth noting.
No, just about a certain amount of tickets per performance. Oh, you said, what did you just say?
Yeah, so the discount code can't be for a certain amount of tickets per performance. You can turn it off, right? So you can internally know that I'm going to turn it off as soon as I hit a certain number. You just have to be prepared to manually keep eyes on that. But it brought me to another point, which is important to note, is that the discount codes are not public, but anything ticket level is public. So I answered.
Another discount code question. Can you have a discount code be time limited? Like use this code before Mother's Day. Well, you could if you delete it on Mother's Day. But it's up to you to make that like timeline for yourself and that reminder to say like, oh, I'm gonna close that after a
Set some
certain
alarms. Yeah, set some
and then another person here is the only opportunity for email capture at the time of ticket purchase.
Yes. I'm curious.
Well, unless you have a sign-up sheet at your box office when people are checking in. So if you want to make sure that you get people's emails that you didn't get before, double up. Wow, who cares if you get it twice, And often people have asked me that when I go to see their show.
Yeah. No, that's very true. And you will have access to their user accounts. Like if they leave a review and they're signed in, like you can see who left the review and reach out to them through the site. So there's like, I guess, additional ways, but the easiest and most straightforward way is definitely when tickets are being purchased. Okay, more. Ooh, Betsy and then Sahar.
You had mentioned, and it just hit me, to do participant pricing. So let's say you wanted to do a $5 ticket for participants. How will they see that on the site? Everyone won't see that, but okay, they will see that though.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, just the same way. So participants and also the button discount. So the community price is the phrasing we use on the website. So everyone follows community price, which is a part of the like artist agreement. If somebody is a button holder, then they get the community price, which is $1 off per performance. So they can't use that for like 15 tickets. They can use it for one single user, right? Because gross if they're buying 15 tickets with their one discounted button. But in the same way that participants work, the community price is only visible if they've purchased a button through the website. So basically, yeah,
Okay.
the website's pretty smart in that it knows who the user is, which is a good check-in. If you are the director of a show and you've been added to the project page and you're not seeing participant prices, check in and make sure that you're logged in or make sure you've been added to the project. Or additionally, not all shows have them. So know that that's a possibility too, right? Not every show is going to offer a participant price.
And then for volunteer prices, you said it's nice to do the discounts for volunteer. How
Yeah.
do they get to see that?
We share that with volunteers. So if there's a link on our participant packet, and we'll send out a lot like more information as time goes on too.
Okay.
But there's a link already in our participant packet that lets you sign up for that, and then we'll set that all up. We'll share it with our volunteers and funders, like our Commissioners Club members, and that's a great way to start to pay for that house, but with a discounted ticket as opposed to a free ticket.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. All right. So
Follow-up question to that. Do you know approximately how many volunteers there are and how many Commissioners Club members there are?
yeah,
Like
we
in
won't.
general?
Yeah, we won't know until like we are still a month and a half away, so we just don't have that information. But with that, you can always turn it off at a certain point, right? If you've used 10 tickets with the volunteer discount, you can shut that off. You just got to let us know. That way we take you off the list we're sharing. But I will say overall, our volunteers and Commissioners Club members don't like take advantage. Like they see a lot of shows, but if they can afford to buy tickets, they do. I know like one of our sponsors had access to like, the special volunteer discount. I guess he helps fund multiple programs and he paid full price for all 30 shows he saw because he just wants to support the arts. Like, so it's not like overused to the point. I've never heard anyone in 15 years complaining that like they had too many volunteers in their shows, But you can always email us and shut that down if it is too much.
I have a follow-up question, but I see Sahar has their hand raised, so I'll defer to them and then ask.
And then we'll jump back. That sounds perfect. All right, Sahar, you are up.
Yes, we were wondering, Sahar's a scholarship winner, and it said in the scholarship agreement that two tickets. Wait, so we're doing 5 performances, but we have to do a minimum of 3, and we need 2 tickets for 3 performances to be comped, and it says that in the scholarship agreement. Is that something we will be contacted about, or should we just randomly choose 3 performances and do 2 random comps for
Yeah.
3?
That's a great question. Roddy will be reaching out to set that all up. But if you want to get a head start, if you're worried about selling out, feel free to reach out to Roddy directly, and he'll have a whole process for that for sure.
Okay, fabulous. And then very quickly, this is backtracking a bit, so apologies, but we were wondering about the multi-sensory tag. What counts as a multi-sensory performance, just so we know that we're ticking the right thing.
I think there was multilingual, and then there was sensory friendly and
Sorry, I meant sensory friendly. I was
sensory friendly. Okay, I'm
thinking
sorry. I know I was like mixing. So sensory friendly would be something like if somebody gets overwhelmed easily, overstimulated easily. So things like loud sounds or bright lights, flashing lights, anything that could really like overwhelm the nervous system.
Yes.
I think that's a good way to look at a sensory advisory meeting, or sensory friendly would be the opposite, right? Where there's no fights that happen in the middle of the performance. It's really calm and relaxed. Then that would absolutely be a sensory friendly performance. Or additionally, you could add a sensory friendly performance. Like if maybe you do have some loud noises, but one performance in your run, you want to make sure that that's the calmed down version. You can flag that one performance so that those who do get overwhelmed easily, then they can come to that performance knowing they're not going to be triggered.
Okay, that makes sense. And then very quickly, the multilingual option, is that an accessibility thing or a content thing? Because our play involves more than one language.
That's a great
Yeah.
question. Would it be understood by multiple languages, or is there multiple languages used enough where like you want to reach multiple communities?
That was sort of the idea, yes.
Then
But
yeah,
it's
I
the
think
sort
that
of
could be
thing.
multilingual. Yeah.
Yeah, it's mainly in English, but then there are
Yeah.
a few bits where a character speaks for an extended period in Farsi, but with English words that you can identify within that. Um, so I think that probably would count as multilingual, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think maybe noting, because like if somebody who only spoke Farsi saw the show, would they be able to understand it still? I think that's something you want to consider with
That's a good
people
question.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of what we were wondering about, is whether it would constitute, since we saw it was under accessibility, we weren't really quite sure because we do have like Farsi and Irish in it, but like it wouldn't be understood by just someone who spoke those languages, if that makes sense. It would just be part of the content of the play.
Then I think probably not. But again, this you have some great gray area questions here. I love it.
Yeah.
But I think use your best judgment. Like we're not gonna like audit, your choices. But I think that's a good way to look at it is these are letting audience know what to expect. And so like knowing that like okay, and maybe that's something you can put in the long description as like a part of one reason to see it, but it's not necessarily a flag that it's multilingual, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think there was one more follow-up question, and then Ellen, I know you have stuff from the chat. I can just feel it in your energy.
Well, Ellen answered my question in the chat. It was about the time-limited discount codes. If you delete a discount code partway through the run, will it still show up in the reports? And she said yes. So thank you for that.
Can you imagine?
Can I ask a question about languages too? Because my question is similar to the question that the guys asked. So I was confused whether to put multilingual or not, and then also whether to put a tag of Russian or not. So my show is completely in English, but there are some Russian words or some the quotes that I use in Russian. But if I put like the tag Russian or multilingual, I'm thinking maybe it will push away some of the audience members or confuse them, whether they will think, oh, it's in Russian. Like, so I shouldn't probably use that.
I think
What do you think?
Unless it's the link, like unless a good portion of your script is spoken in Russian, I think that's a little misleading. So I think, yeah, like think about these tags as just like being as honest as you can be. That way, no one's gonna come in and go, well, shit, like I thought this was multilingual and they used 4 words. Like that would feel misleading, right? But I think
Yeah.
tags, this is where you can have some fun with the tags because that's talking about content, right? And it's talking about what to expect in the show without saying that it's, multilingual, but it is, you're saying, like you can put Russian in the tags and like different things to get your audience excited about it without promising a language being spoken that won't be.
Yeah, because Russian can be a language and, nationality. So that is a little misleading.
Totally. That's fair. Yeah. And then maybe so you can get maybe more creative, right?
Okay, I'll think about it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I know that there's so many gray areas when it comes to flags, y'all. So know that you're asking great questions. And Ellen and I are not going to be the end all like answer. It's just we're kind of talking from experience, of at least what we've experienced from in the past from shows. But there's no real right or wrong here. Okay. Ellen, questions from the chat?
Yeah, I have 2 questions. One of which is how do I replace the blue freak image next to the project name? We only have one production team member on the project right now, and that profile picture is correct, but the profile picture looks like a placeholder.
That's a great question. Actually, I'll pop back over to my screen here. Okay. back to screen sharing. Okay, we're back to Lois's test show. I don't know why I say it with that intention every time. Okay, so it's a great question. So you were talking about like this guy over here, right? I'm assuming.
The one that's next to Lois's test show.
Yep. Oh, this one, the
The
green.
site image up at the
No,
top.
no, not that
Lois.
one. The
Oh,
above it.
oh,
Yeah,
yes.
there.
Yeah, which is a site-wide image and
It's a-
unfortunately cannot be changed. Although this is our last year with the Freaks, so we will be changing it in the future, but it is our site image.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's not okay, it's not a project photo then.
Yeah, no, I know that's confusing because it is the
Okay.
placeholder elsewhere, right? But yeah, no, this is across the thing. That way people are reminded, oh, I'm on the Fringe website.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
And
no,
then
you're all good. You were not the first and you won't be the last with that question.
Okay, thanks.
we have a question in the chat about reviews, Lois, and so I'm just wondering if we could make sure we go through that before we end. Reviews and how to
Absolutely.
certify reviews and things like that.
Yeah, of course I don't have any reviews up.
Do you want me to make a fake one?
Yes, will you write a fake one? Okay, that is perfect. Ellen,
Or
go team.
actually, if you want to go to one of our past
Go to a
events,
different project. Yeah.
yeah.
So if that's the case, y'all, why don't first, can we come back to reviews if that's okay? I'm just going to go through ads really quickly because it's in the same profile page. And I don't want to get lost having to switch between different profile images. So really quick, we're going to go to ads. So if you want to purchase an ad, we're going to go to hollywoodfringe.org/market. It's really thinking about it. But boom. Okay. Now you can see all of these ads, yeah? Now the good news is because I have registered my test show, I am seeing the discounted prices. So again, just like how the site knows if you're a participant and getting the participant price, or if you're a button holder and you get the button price, it knows that you're registered. So also don't buy an ad until you've registered. Don't give yourself that headache. It shouldn't be as expensive. So make sure you're registered and then you can buy your ads here. We have all of the guide ads. Those are due on April 20th. So upload or purchase and upload your ads. Like I said, if you need some wiggle room because you're waiting on a performance, I can offer wiggle room once it's purchased, but we do need to save that space in the guide because space is limited. There are hundreds of shows, and at a certain point, the ads, we can't have, 50 pages of ads. No one's going to find the listings. So make sure you're grabbing that ad. And then we can work with you to make sure you still get it in a little late. Okay, and then Fringe website impressions. That's where these are as well. These can be purchased at any time. So don't worry about deadlines there. They can be purchased at any time. Additionally, go to hollywoodfringe.org/ads. And you can find out all the information about it. So this has our specs. This has reminders about like how to make sure you're making it correctly. This also has templates, and this is huge, y'all. If like design is not really something you feel is a strong suit, use these templates. Please just hit this available here button and you'll have options in Photoshop, Illustrator, and Canva down below here. And that's going to be super user friendly to make sure that your ad looks the best it can. We want, like, this costs money and you've worked hard for your money. We want to make sure your ad is as good as it can be. So please use these tools to make sure that your ad is the right size, because it will look bad if it's supposed to be a quarter-page ad and you fill out half of it. That's not going to look good, right? So make sure you're using the full space you purchase, and then we will send proofs. After that deadline, we will start sending proofs so that you can see it next to other ads and you can see what it looks like as close to like print quality as possible, because we want it to look good, and we'll let you know if it's like, hey, this is a really low resolution. Can you send me something with higher res so that it's not blurry in the guide? Like, we're going to try to do our best. We can't remake it for you. We can't, because again, hundreds of shows, but we will try to give you notes if we're really worried about the quality and it not serving your show in the best way it can. So another reason to get those in earlier than later, so we can start to catch some of those oh no's, because our guide designer is absolutely brilliant and just loves the art so much and wants all of you to succeed. So she bends over backwards trying to make sure that every person gets the best ad they can have. It's really very sweet. So know that we will do our best to help there. Okay, and then, so now let's say you purchased an ad, maybe it's digital, maybe it's a print one, but you weren't ready to upload it. What do? We're gonna go to our little profile And there's all of these fun tabs. Click advertisements. And these are where your advertisements live once you purchase them. So this can be a great spot. So upload art, right? My 8-page guide ad that I purchased. This is where I'm going to upload the art when I'm ready. This is also where you can, of course, create your website impression or edit. That's key, y'all. So you can edit whatever you have in there. You can change the ad as often as you want to, as long as you still have impressions available. And you can also make this unactive. If you're like, ooh, you know what? May 1st is going to be super busy. I want it to run for 2 hours, and then I'm going to pause my ad. That way it doesn't run out in 5 hours because there's over, 100,000 people looking at the site. So you can play with your ad and make decisions based on traffic as well. So that's at Hollywood, and it's also for a quick link, just my_ads. But the best and easiest way to do any of this is just click on your little profile image down here, and you see all of your stuff right here. You can also see, as you can look here, you can easy access to your show. It's all right there. All of my test shows. Look at how many test shows I have. One of which is going to absolutely be in the guide now that I'm looking at how many I have. And then, of course, your advertisements. You can check out your button. You can look at the shows you favorited. You can start to favorite shows that you know you want to purchase a ticket for now. And of course, your purchase history as well. You can look at like what you've purchased. And that's can also be great at like tax season, right? It's tax day. Like if you're like, ooh, I need to like look up the charges that were associated with my fringe project so I can write them off, come to your purchase history. And then of course, notifications is a great place to keep an eye on in case people are messaging you through the website. You don't want to miss that. Okay.
Hey, Alice, would you help me do some investigation? I was responding to somebody, and
Yeah.
you had a couple of URLs you mentioned. What were the URLs that you mentioned?
HollywoodFringe.org/market. That is going to be where you purchase guide ads and website impressions. It's also in this handy little tab at the top of the website here. Market, just ads and buttons. And then HollywoodFringe.org/ads. That's where you're going to find the templates, the specs, all of the details to help you make the best guide ad possible. Additionally, fun fact, because I know there's 1,000 URLs attached to Hollywood Fringe, and it can be so daunting to remember what is where. We know that, and our best tip is Google. We do it ourselves when I'm trying to find an article and I can't remember the URL or where it lists, like where it's listed on the tabs. Just Google Hollywood Fringe, whatever you're looking for, and odds are you will find it within the top 5 searched items. So fun test. We're pretty all over Google. So okay. I think that is my list. I'm gonna try and
If you want, we can look at the reviews and I can show how to certify because we have some spam ones I can use.
brilliant. Do you want to share your screen, Ellen?
Sure thing.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, stop share.
Give me 1 second.
While Ellen is setting up, I will name yeah, it's sometimes like we live in a world of spam. There are bots that no matter how many checks we have on our website, it might happen. If you do have a spam review, let us know. We'll delete it right away. They tend to happen in the off season, not during the festival, which is good, but wanted to give that disclaimer.
So you'll go here to your reviews section and you'll see, I don't have any certified reviewers of this because it was an event that we did. Who would review that? That's weird. Well, if I had a friend that really had reviewed it and I wanted to say it instead of saying something like best Canon cameras for beginners,
Hey,
what I would do is I would certify that review. But because it's spam, I'm gonna remove that review. And I'm gonna go back to my reviews, go to all reviewers, and pretend that Jack Smith, whoops, this review really was true. I could certify it. And then I'm like, oh no, actually, it isn't that, you can remove it. I can remove it because I'm an admin. I realize you can't remove it. Why am I doing it? Oh my God, you can certify it, but you can't remove it because that would be really, really, really bad if you could remove, on your own thing. So sorry, you guys. That was my admin screen going, but you can definitely certify your reviews in that way. And if there was a harassing email, or like a harassing, like it broke our code of conduct sort of review, we would remove it, or spam, and you can let us know and we'll remove it.
Totally.
We don't really get spam during Fringe. It's mostly in the off season that we get spam.
You know, so if anyone needs a camera, I have a good resource.
LOL at me telling you you could remove your reviews when I just like made it so clear that that wasn't true on Sunday, yesterday. So yes, you cannot remove your own review because that would be horrible for the idea of having a review.
Ah,
You can turn them off though. So if you don't want to get reviews, you can always turn them off, but you can't remove your own.
correct. Okay, I think y'all, that is, I'm gonna look at my list, but I wrote paper lists so that I didn't lose track and I didn't use them once. But I do believe that that is all, that was all the list I had. Is there any last questions? Reminder, all of this information is available in the participant packet, hollywoodfringe.org/participant. We have written like detailed lists on how to do all of the things I just talked about. As well as support at hollywoodfringe.org, your new best fringe pal. We're always here. Email us if you're like, you know what, shit, like I know you taught me how to do comp codes and this isn't working. Can you help me problem solve? That's why we're here. So please utilize those resources. But last questions.
Quick question. What was the My Buttons section? Is that if you buy buttons or does that come up automatically?
Yep. So that's the buttons for like the community button we just talked about. So actually that's a great point. So if you are the primary producer of your project, that means you pay the registration fee, you get a free one. And we will set that up for you prior to tickets going on sale. I try to wait until that list is as full as possible because it's a whole manual code thing on the website. But prior to May 1st, you will be comped a button. So that will live attached to your account. Additionally, anyone on your team, if they're on your team, they're considered a participant, right? So they will have access to buy a button for $3, whereas the general like public has a $5 button. So participants will get a discount. Something that a lot of primary producers will do as a way to thank their volunteer cast is buy them buttons. And if you want to go that route, like just email support@hollywoodfringe.org and we can either like run a special tab for you and then set them up manually on their accounts or come in person to office hours once we have them available and do it that way. But no, that is an option. It just won't work the same as buying your own button that is automatically attached to your account. All right. Any other questions? Oh, yes.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Did you say in the workshop yesterday at the L Center, did you say that starting in May, there will also be an app for all of this?
Yeah, so there is an iPhone app, and technically it's up now. There's just no tickets on sale. But it essentially is pulling exactly what is on the website into the iPhone app. There's a link. There should be a link in the participant packet to that as well. But that is live and up and running, and then eventually we'll link to tickets once tickets are on sale.
So then everything that you would need to see as an admin or like your box office volunteer, if they're an admin, that's all going to be on the app.
It is an audience app. Yep, I should have been more clear. That's a great question. It's an audience facing app. Like, and so it's not, not going to work the same for you. And I will name like, and we need to do more work on our mobile view. I'm going to name that out, right? Like we're not, we're not trying to hide that fact. Our mobile view is not the greatest. So whenever possible, definitely like using the Fringe website's admin pages from your computer is ideal. Can you do it from your phone? Totally. Is it as clear? No, we're working on it and we're hoping to have all of that really glowed up for next year.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, Betsy, did I see a question a second ago?
Yeah, and I know you said it yesterday. I just want to make sure because my flyer, I bought the printed ads today, but I can upload the picture before the 20th, like on the 19th. That's okay. And then as far as the site, when I can change the picture for the show. Okay, good.
Yep. Anytime. Yeah. And no, you have until end of day the 20th, y'all. So I will start pulling those
Okay.
on the 20th, like bright and early on the 21st. So really until like the end of day on the 20th, get those in. And then again, if you buy one ahead of time and if you're not going to have it until maybe the 22nd, purchase the ad and then shoot us an email and support and let us know because communication, we can do so much more when we know what's happening. When we
Okay.
don't know what's happening, then, because I can't have 50 participants who are running late on the ad. But if 3 people email me, like we'll make it work. We'll figure it out. yeah, we want this to be a successful journey for you. And so there is wiggle room as long as we know.
Thank you.
Of course. And then
Um,
one thing to note about the digital ad, sorry, if you do change the image, remember there is the approval process. We check it daily, but just something to keep in mind when you are changing it, know that there's going to be a little bit of a lag because we do have to approve it to make sure it's not spam or porn or things that can't be on our website. So just keep that in mind. Don't be like, oh God, I needed it to go out right now. It won't happen. It takes a minute.
Can I ask a question regarding ads?
Yeah.
Because I'm considering buying a print ad, but they're a little pricey. I mean,
Yeah.
at least for me. Yeah, and I'm just wondering, is it worth it or not? So my question is, I don't know even if you can answer that, but just like, what percentage, like how many tickets are usually sold if you really do buy an ad, a
Yeah.
print ad, and where do who sees that, and where is it usually?
No, these are
Thank
fair
you.
questions, and I will absolutely answer it honestly, because again, they work for some people, they don't work for everyone. So with the printed ads, I will name they work best if your show has good visuals. If your show is not a primarily visually exciting show, don't bother with the ad. That is not going to help sell your show if you don't have a good visual. If you do have a good visual, if you have good marketing where that visual is gonna, that visual is gonna help sell your tickets, there's not a visual included in the listing, right? So that is your chance to get a visual in front of ticket buyers. So that's where I think I draw the line. It's not helpful unless you have a good visual, but if you have a good visual, it might be worth it. But that said, like it's not gonna make or break your show experience if you have other marketing tactics. Because what we do with the guide, though, it is going into new audiences. That's where we really try to get the guide. It goes to venues, so you're gonna have those loyal audience members who are grabbing them at venues and seeing what they're going to do. Okay, I'm already at Broadwater to see a show at 4. What's coming up next? That's how shows are that's how audiences are using them at venues. And then we drop them at tourist locations, at hotels, at bars, restaurants, coffee shops, places where we know people are out and about, potentially looking for activities to do that day or that week. And so basically we take 2,500 guides, that's how many we print, and we spread them all over Los Angeles. And that's something our team does. We get them into those spaces that we know are utilized. We know that audiences are going to like find these guides, and then additionally we move them. Like we check in on those things. Venues will call when they run out. We'll bring more. We'll check in on the coffee shops, the bars, the hotels. Are they moving? Are people actually picking them up? Great. If not, we're gonna move them. So we kind of do that dirty work of getting those guides into places where people are going to find out about Fringe. And that's where the visual is important, right? Because if your visual is not going to stand out in that guide, then that's probably not serving your ticket sales. And so only I would say if your visual is fire, if your visual is going to get people excited to see your show, if it actually represents your show, then the guide ad is worth it. If not, then that's okay. There's other ways to market that are less visual. And so maybe go in that direction. Did that help? That was the most long-winded version of the answer I could have given?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right, any last questions, y'all? Because I don't know about you, but I have to go do my taxes in a few minutes. Full disclosure. We really did great there, right on the 14th, making mom proud. Any other questions? Okay, y'all, thank you so much for joining us today. Genuinely, I get so excited by those that show up because I do know that you're going to have a stronger experience. You're putting in the work, you're asking the questions. So thank you for being a part of that. And please help spread the information into the community because that's the other really exciting thing about Fringe is knowledge share, people helping each other out. So now you are the keepers of so much information. Please share that with your fellow participants. And I know they will do the same for you. So have a great Monday night, y'all. Thank you.
Thanks, Lois. You're great.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.